Okay, let's begin our lecture, and in this lecture we will be talking about research design. Research design. So when we talk about the designing of a research, there are multiple factors which we need to understand, and we cannot overlook them. Designing of a research requires you to understand the concept behind it, that is what kind of quantitative research you are about to start. Since our lectures are about the quantitative research, so what are the factors which are important for the quantitative research? So for example, if we are talking about the variables relationship, so what relationship we are expecting, we will tell in this research design. For example, we are taking the sample, so what kind of sample we are going to take, and are we going to collect the data from the probability through the probability sampling or non-probability sampling. So that's how you define everything over here. You define your target population, you define the way you collect, you define the sample, you reach to the sample, the way you collect the data, what would be your way of analyzing the data. Analysis is very important. What statistical analysis you would perform. Okay, everything you have to define this. And its importance is much more when you talk about the thesis or the project. In the research paper, you see there are only not more than 10 to 15 lines about the research methodology. But in the thesis, in the academic research, you need to define the research methodology in detail. That is a complete chapter which is called chapter number 3. It's called chapter number 3. Next. Skip. Okay. When we talk about the research objectives, yes. When we talk about the research objectives, so this is the agenda of ours. Understand the different aspects relevant to designing a research study. So there are different aspects, but we need to know what are the aspects. During this lecture, you have to keep noting down the important points, since this lecture has so many topics and so many terminologies. So if you do not write it down, you will be confused. And I recommend you, whenever you go to home, whenever you have time, then you must read this chapter. That is chapter number 6 in the Sakran and Bogi, research methods and skills. Understand the different aspects relevant to designing a research study. Identify the scope of any given study and the end use of the results. Describe the type of investigation needed, the study setting, the extent of research interference, the unit of analysis, and the time horizon. When we talk about the type of investigation, you see the investigation can be of different types. So we will be discussing later about every of the investigation. What is the setting, in which setting you collect the data and you perform your research, and what would be, how as a researcher, what would be your interference in the research. The unit of analysis, what would be the analysis of your unit. For example, from which you collect the data, how would you suppose it to make a unit. So there are different discussion we will be talking about, and the time horizon of the study, that what would be the duration of collecting the data. It's very, very important. Identify which of the two, causal or correlational study, would be more appropriate in a given situation. That is an important point. We usually go in the business research, we usually go with the correlational study, and the causal study I already mentioned to you that the causal study is usually the experiment study in which you interfere more to control the multiple factors. So in the business studies, we go with the correlational study in which we check the relationship among the variables. Okay. So in the causal study, in the medical field, there are multiple causal studies in which they need to control the internal factors, okay, and they want the result which is internally controlled. So they go in that manner. But in the management, we do not prefer. Why? Because it is a business field is a dynamic field. Okay, so we try to be practical and we do not control the environment at all. We try to get the data which is more practical, which is more applicable. So we do not go in the controlled environment, in any lab kind of environment. Okay, so we go with the correlation study. Next. Research design. In this step, we need to design the research in a way that the requisite data can be gathered and analyzed to arrive at a solution. So this is all about that. What we talked about in the hypothetical derivative method, we talked about the identifying the variables and developing the hypothesis, etc. So here you see the design to reach in a way that the requisite data can be gathered. So whatever data you have to gather, you have to talk about it, that how you are going to collect the data. And also you are collecting data for the analysis, how you are going to perform the analysis. The research design was originally presented in a simple manner in a box 6, figure 6. Next. Focus, can you focus that? No, you cannot focus. Sure. You guys can come ahead. The last one, last two. You as well. Come ahead. Bring with chair. I'm not coming. Achha. Okay, this figure is very, very important. You see in this figure, I think you guys cannot see this figure from far, but I can tell you it's all about the research prerequisite which we have already discussed. So it is telling you first you need to define the problem, then theoretical framework, then generation of information, then scientific research design, that is here, and then you collect the data and analysis. So data collection and analysis is totally dependent upon your research design. And then you come to the outcome. Next. So this is the most important figure of today's session, in which we talk about the purpose of the study. What is the purpose of the study? What is the, write it down, what is the purpose of this study? So purpose of the study can be the exploration, the description, or hypothesis testing. These can be the purpose of the study. Okay? So what we are about to discuss is about the purpose of the study, types of investigation, extent of research interference, study setting, and time horizon and unit of analysis. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On 6 topics we are going to discuss. I am repeating, note it down. Purpose of the study. The first one is the purpose of the study. Second is the type of investigation. Type of. Third is the extent of researcher interference. Extent of researcher interference. The fourth is study setting. Fourth is study setting. And the fifth is unit of analysis. Fifth is unit of analysis. And the sixth is time horizon. Sixth is time horizon. Fifth is unit of analysis. Unit of analysis. Yes. First is purpose of the study. Second is type of investigation. Third is extent of research interference. Extent of research interference. Fourth is study setting. Fifth is unit of analysis. Sixth is time horizon. 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 ठीक है? So these 6 topics we are going to discuss in this, and we are also solving the conceptual problem about them. ठीक है? So learn everything with building your concept, because you will be applying your concepts in solving the numericals. Next. So first is the purpose of the study. So when we talk about the purpose, it tells you about the nature of the study. What is the nature of your study? So nature can be exploratory. Exploratory means the topic can be, or your problem can be of a kind which has a little data, and you try to explore more the topic. The descriptive study is when you have the data and you go with the descriptive analysis. You talk about the demographics, you talk about the description of the data, for example, sales, revenue kind of thing. And through that you solve a problem. In the hypothesis testing, we go with the predictive analysis. As I already mentioned, with the regression analysis, we go with the predictive analysis. So hypothesis testing, what does it tell you? It tells you the behavior of the variables. That if we want to know what would be the behavior of the dependent variable with the changing pattern of the independent variable. So in that case, we go with the hypothesis testing. So we usually go, students go with the hypothesis testing. So in that we want to check the interaction of one variable with the other. That can be the correlation, that can be the causal one. Case study analysis, it is one of the nature of analysis in which we talk about the particular case, the particular event which happened, or a particular company or a particular industry. So this is called the case study analysis. So it is one of the nature of the study. But we usually go with the hypothesis testing. Next. Exploratory study. What is exploratory study? Is undertaking when not much is known about the situation I already mentioned. Next. Its example is there. I request you to study at home. Okay. The manager of a multinational corporation is curious to know if the work ethic values of employees working in Prince Hassan industrial city would be different from those of Americans. So it is an exploratory study about the ethical practices in a particular area which has never been explored before. So that is why it is called the exploratory study. Next. Another example which you will study at your leisure time. Next. Okay, descriptive study example is undertaken in order to ascertain and able to describe the characteristics of the variables of interest in a situation. For instance, a study of the research method 200 class in terms of the percentage of members who are in their senior will be gender composition, age grouping, number of semesters left until graduation can be considered as descriptive in nature. For example, there is a 200 research method students and you want to know that what is the result of their assignments, what is the result of their quizzes, what is the result of their final exam. So that's tell you about the detail about the problem. So this is the example of the descriptive study. Next. Another example is there. A bank manager wants to have a profile of the individuals who have loan payments outstanding for 6 months. You might have come across with the same concept. Obviously, that might not be the scientific research. Your boss tells you, come up with the data. I want to see that what are the customers who are not buying from us since 2017. Bring the report. So that is a descriptive, which is telling you about details about the customers. So in the descriptive research, basically we try to assess the situation. Next. Hypothesis testing is studies that engage in hypothesis testing usually explain the nature of certain relationship. Nature means, I already taught you. What is nature? Nature of the relationship, yes?
Variable.
Yes, variables. And I'm... Yes, shabash. Nature of the relationship means?
Positive or negative.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. So nature, it tells you about the nature. The result of the hypothesis tells you the nature of the relationship and establish the differences among groups. For example, male are the better driver or female are good at something. Cooking, yes.
More than better.
They are good at linguistic skills. They are good. And they have a better memory. So you see, in the different groups, there are different characteristics. So if you want to check the relationship between the groups, then you also go with the hypothesis testing. Next. These are the examples. I think we have already discussed. The marketing manager wants to know if the sales of the company will increase if we double the advertising dollars. So he wants to see the relationship between the dollars and the sales. The advertisement, promotions, discounts, what is the impact? So when there is a relationship between the two variables and you want to know the behavior of a variable by changing some factors, so you go with the hypothesis testing. Next. Case study involve in-depth contextual analysis of matters relating to similar situation in other organizations. Case study as a problem-solving technique are not frequently resorted to in organization because finding the same type of problem in another company's setting is difficult due to reluctance of the companies to reveal their problem. It's a huge problem. I have been trying to write a case study, but I have not got approval up till now. Multiple times I tried to get the approval from the authority that please share your data so that we can write a case study, and that would be the academic purpose solely, but they never show their consent at all. This is very discouraging, but that happens, unfortunately. And it's kind of case study to me that how the academician find the data, because I am not able to find the data, even by reference. They don't want to share the data because the data tells you much about the company. Many factors are there, so they don't want to tarnish their reputation of any kind. Though the academic case study would not define the company much, but still, they don't want to leak any kind of information, get the information leaked. This is very unfortunate. Anyway, so that is what it is saying. When you go with the case study method, so obviously case study is specific to a company. For example, Iqra University, Karachi University, or other university. So that cannot be replicated exactly. Why? Because the case is all about a single company, a single industry, or single event that happened. Next. Sahi hai? This is kind of thing. When a doctor is treating a patient, particular patient, that is a case study. When we talk about the company's strategy, for example, Pepsi, currently Pepsi is keep going through the innovation in the current challenge they are facing. because their customer base is greatly affected. So they are trying to come up with the new products. I see every month new product of them. Yes. Another new product I just saw yesterday, I guess. There was a billboard. So that is how they are trying to, the case study can be on them. That what is their strategy in this challenging time. There are multiple, Tim Horton is facing a very serious challenge across the world. So this is a case study that what strategy they are coming up. Starbucks as well, McDonald's. So there are multiple companies which are facing. So that can be a case study that how McDonald's cope up with the challenges in the troubled time. Because emotionally, customers are emotionally affected. So they are reacting not on the basis of the quality of the product, not on the basis of the functionality of the product, but they are emotionally touched and they are not buying your product at all, or buying in a little quantity, like me. Whenever I have to buy, I buy in a very little quantity. When you don't have choice or don't want to taste any other thing, then you go for that. Next. Types of investigation, we already discussed. Causal. Students call it क्या कहते हैं? Casual. Or few students call it kajol. Kajol. So it is not kajol kind of thing. There is no beauty in this. So you go with the causal study. So when we talk about the causal study, so causal study, as I already mentioned, causal study is the one which tells you the independent and dependent relationship. That only, this is the sole purpose of the causal study. That tells you the correct independent and dependent variable relationship. Correct means when you control the internal validity completely and you are sure that there is no other factor which is tarnishing the relationship between the variables, then you go for the causal study. There is nothing to compromise. For example, you are about to launch a medicine, so you cannot compromise on the other factors. So you must be very precise. So you go with the causal study. Okay, correlational study is the inquiry how the important variables associated with the problem, how they are interlinked. Associate means relationship. So we usually go with the correlation. Note it down. We usually go with the correlational study. So if you ask me what is more important in this, so to you, the type of investigation which is more important is correlational study. Next. The examples are there. A causal study question: does smoking cause cancer?
No.
So when we say smoking and cancer, so we must control the internal validity completely, because we cannot say if someone smoke at the CVU, he won't get cancer, but when he smokes around the university campus, he can have cancer. So it's very important that you control all the factors. Then you can say that smoking causes cancer. Otherwise, you cannot say. So this is a causal study. Or when we talk about the correlational study, are smoking cancer related? Are smoking and cancer
Yes, sir.
related? So this is the correlational study. When you talk about the relation only. So you do not have to worry much about the validity, because you are talking about only the relationship. That can be of any kind. Are smoking, drinking and chewing tobacco associated with cancer? One of the question. If so, which of these? Most of the variants of the. Ji?
Alcohol or
Anything. Drinking. Yes, drinking. When we use the term drink, it means
Alcohol.
yes. It means alcohol.
Kala pani.
I know you are a very
He's a very innocent.
very innocent. So it is difficult for him to imagine. Yes. Okay. So tell me which study would suffice or will be useful for this. Which study will be useful in this scenario? You are talking, smiling. Causal? Causal. आप कह रहे हैं. Let's see. और कोई? Is there anyone who is telling about this relationship, that this relationship is causal? Is there anyone? No? No? Rest of all of you are saying it's correlational. It's causal?
Yes.
You? Causal? How many of you are saying this relationship can be tested through causal only? 1, 2, 3. 3, 4. 4. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. How come is it causal? How come is it causal? How come it is causal?
Actually, it's not a correlation.
How come? This one I am talking about.
Statement is not identifying the variable.
I am talking about this one. हाँ जी, ही को आप बताइए. Why causal? So when there is a relationship, the relationship has to be tested causal way only. Why?
Actually, smoking, drinking, and chewing is one of the causes. It's not the main cause. So that's why it's a causal.
Yes, that's right. हमारे सर ने कहा कि दोनों कैप्सूल के डब्बे खरीदे थे और 90 साल की उम्र में जाके
We can't say smoking and drinking, chewing tobacco is the main cause.
जिंदगी गुजारते
There are
Okay, you see, again, there would be debate when there is no keyword in this problem. You see, there was a keyword over here, related, and we already talked about association before. So over here you see there is an association. When we talk about association only, we are not publicizing it that chewing will cause cancer, drinking will cause cancer, smoking will cause cancer. What we are saying that there is a relationship. When we talk about the relationship only, we go with the correlation. Got it? Sure. Do we have to take break after a while, after a few minutes?
Only for नमाज तो बाद नमाज ये नहीं कि एक साथ ही आप
हाँ सर नमाज के लिए कर रहे हैं।
नमाज के लिए अभी देते फिर उसके बाद एक प्रॉपर ब्रेक नहीं
Proper break. एक improper, एक proper.
एक ऑफिशियल एक नमाज
सर क्लासेस है
नहीं. You guys come after 30 minutes. Next.
45 मिनट सर
Okay, in few minutes we will have a break. Next. You can read yourself for better understanding. Next. Okay, let's talk about the interference, extent of researcher interference. What is this topic? Third one, I guess. Third one. So now we are talking about researcher interference. Interference means you interfere in conducting data. There is an interference which is usually not recommended until you define it. So you can define your interference. And if you are going for a causal study, then you must interfere to control the other factors. The extent of interference by the researcher with the normal flow of work. What is the normal flow of work? At the workplace, you interfere for getting the data for your research. Has a direct bearing on whether the study undertaken is causal or correlational. So what does it mean? It means the interference is dependent on the type of investigation you are doing. If you are going for the causal study, you interfere more. If you are going for the correlation study, you interfere less. Okay? Let's end over here our first part of the session. Thank you.